Oh, do they?
Good morning and welcome to Get Real America.
Hump Day. I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Glad to have you aboard on this Wednesday morning.
Yes, and beautiful day yesterday, Bill.
It was. And it looks like we've got more where that came from, although it's warming up a little bit again because of
Climate
because
change?
it's summer.
Oh. The climate keeps changing, Bill. I'm very depressed.
Right.
Very
yeah,
depressed.
aren't we all? Well, yeah, there you go. The climate started changing the day after God invented the place. I hate to tell that to the environmentalists, but they got all those people out, I guess all the people of, what was it? Burning
Man.
Burning Man. Yeah, I had never heard of that.
I think that's hilarious, Bill. Well, I'm from the West Coast, so that's probably why I've heard of it.
Until they got those protesters. I wish we had some of those cops that we got those protesters would go and get those folks that were in the summer of love after all the prosecution that we've done of the Proud Boys.
100%. Before we jump into that, did you hear that Burning Man, they got stuck because it rained a couple of inches?
Yeah.
Okay, so Burning Man originally started, it was supposed to be like all of these hippies that go out there, they, basically build their own camps and like live off the earth, right?
Yeah, this was Woodstock on steroids.
Yes, but it actually has, and it was for younger people. Now it's like a bunch of 40-year-old, like older people they pay to have people set up their camps and everything for them. So they're not capable of actually doing anything themselves, which I thought was hilarious, especially since it rained a couple of inches and they got stuck in the mud.
Yeah, a couple of inches. That's a little afternoon shower here.
Yes. Yeah. Well, and in the desert, it does. It is a little bit different, but definitely not. I mean, you should be able to figure it out, just for the record.
It shouldn't take long.
No, but I will say, Attorney General Chris Carr is actually doing something that I'm happy about.
Yep.
And
kudos to him.
Yes, he is bringing RICO charges against the people that have been making a big deal about Cop City up in Atlanta.
RICO charges seem to be big in Atlanta these days. So Chris said, why not? There've been rioters and these Antifa and Black Lives Matter when they're shot by cops. That's the only time Black Lives Matter to these people. Are going down. They've been building a big police training center up there, and they said they're building it in this underprivileged neighborhood or something like that, one of these urban neighborhoods or something. Well, we did the same thing here with End Market. I mean, it wasn't a police, but we put our new arena that we have here now that's too small, and it's in the wrong place. We put it in this urban center because that was supposed to improve the area. It hasn't. It should have been out on 204, where it could have had plenty of parking spaces, and it could have drawn people from other communities and we could have gotten bigger concerts because it needs to be about twice the size it is if we want to get the big concerts, Taylor Swift, for example.
I'm glad that Taylor Swift isn't going to come here. But.
Well, that's neither here nor there. We're talking about big concerts of that nature.
Yeah, we did get Jason Aldean though, which I was kind of surprised about.
Yeah, that was good. I wish I'd known about. I don't know who the PR people are, but I would kind of like to have seen the Doobie Brothers. I didn't even know they were here until I saw people posting it on Facebook.
Yes, I actually did get the opportunity to go on Sunday night, and it was really fun. I was like, man.
You didn't tell me about it, but I'm not bitter. But nevertheless, the whole thing is that they supposedly to improve the neighborhood. But so far, nobody has been prosecuted on the Summer of Love that did so much damage. We're talking billions of dollars worth of damage. I'm not even sure Bill Gates could pay for it. And so many people were hurt and injured, and lives were destroyed, businesses were destroyed. People were the only person that's been prosecuted at all from that Summer of Love has been Kyle Rittenhouse, who was actually exercising his Second Amendment rights to save his own life.
Yeah, Bill, I'm not really sure how many people are going to need to, be prosecuted at this level in order for people to wake up. But it is definitely an issue of, two different types of justice, because I don't think that any of these Antifa people have really been prosecuted except for in Atlanta.
Yeah, that's been it. And good on Chris Carr for doing this. Our state attorney general, he said he's bringing charges against these people who have caused, who knows how much damage was done that they had to, redo after these idiots went in there. And so they always said we need better training for the police. So we're building a training facility for the police. So then they're trying to tear that down.
Yeah, well,
these people talk out of both sides of their mouths.
I was going to say, no matter what you do, you're always going to, be in the wrong. So
exactly.
Just try to do the right thing. Steve Stanton's with us this morning, and he says, saw a meme yesterday about Burning Man. They renamed the area Ukraine, and old Joe flew in $10 billion in relief immediately.
That's what they ought to do in Maui. We're going to call ourselves West Ukraine, and see how much money gets funneled in that way. Yeah,
well, and so here's the thing. One of the things that happened yesterday was Enrique from Proud Boys was sentenced to 22 years for January 6th. The weird thing about it, Bill.
Here it comes.
He was never at January 6th.
Mm-hmm.
He did not attend. He got convicted for cheering them on, being a cheerleader, texting them, basically. So that's fun and exciting. The other guy got 17 years. People are upset that he didn't get
30. They tried 33.
Yeah. They were mad that he didn't get 33.
Prosecutors wanted 33.
Yep.
He gets 17.
Yes, and these people with Antifa, I don't know. Do you
Nothing.
Yeah. So let's look at the damage. I don't know if you guys have forgotten, but let's look at the damage that they did in Waukesha or Kenosha. Sorry,
Wisconsin. Waukesha was where the guy who was a person of color ran over people in a Christmas parade.
Yes.
But that was okay because he's a person of color.
Yes.
But this is Kenosha, Wisconsin. These pictures are recent.
This is
3 years ago.
And yet no prosecutions for these people. All the businesses they destroyed, the lives they destroyed.
Businesses that were destroyed. Laura Ingraham has done shows from these places where, a coffee house once stood. And a coffee house is one of those, neat little gathering places where people like to go. People have put their lives on the line. They have put their livelihood. They put heart and soul into starting a business. And profit margins are razor thin.
I mean, and here's the other thing. A lot of the people that do this, they do not live in these communities that they destroy.
No. I remember going back all the way to Ferguson, Missouri, when that happened. Hands up, don't shoot. Another lie.
Yep.
And God knows what happened to the poor police officer, 9-year veteran, highly decorated, and did his job, and probably is in the witness protection program now. And it was. They said, well, a guy from Oakland was, they from Oakland, California, a guy from Oakland, California arrested during the rioting. And it was like, why is a guy from Oakland, California in Ferguson, Wisconsin? I'd never even heard of Ferguson, Missouri at the time. And what was he doing there?
Well, it's the same thing with all of these people that have been in Atlanta as well, Bill. I mean, none of them are from here. And typically they're a bunch of rich kids. And it's like, so you guys basically had nothing better to do. So this is what you've chosen to do?
Because I don't have time to get out and, go someplace and, fly someplace and go riot somewhere.
No, but I mean, if people on the right had the time, I mean, we might be able to make a difference, Bill.
I would think.
But we actually have jobs. We have to work.
So we have to pay the taxes to prosecute the people who rattle fences.
Yeah, and
have you seen? Did you ever see the pictures from Portland, Oregon, for example? They were rattling the fences. They were trying to burn down a federal building. Police were there. FBI agents were there. Many of them, these left-wing loons were throwing water bottles. That doesn't sound like much, except the water bottles were frozen. That's a lethal weapon. They were also using laser pointers, and these were industrial lasers that they were using. Where'd they get the money for those? And hitting police and law enforcement in their eyes. with these. Some of them were either blinded or lost a part of their eyesight. Nothing, nothing. And yet these guys, because they went, and the January 6th has already been disproven. Tucker Carlson did it one night, and the left had a cow. He showed the shaman or whatever going in and being escorted by Capitol Police. He wasn't they weren't spray painting any statues. They weren't tearing them down. People were walking around taking pictures, taking selfies, saying, let's don't disrespect the building here. Don't disrespect the history. So they didn't tear down anybody's statue. They didn't do any damage whatsoever, except the few people that were one woman was smashing their a group was smashing the glass on one of the doors, trying to get in, and only one person was killed. Air Force veteran of 12 years who had done I think one or two or three, maybe even three tours of Afghanistan, defending us, and she was murdered by a Capitol Police officer for no reason whatsoever. She was unarmed, and that Capitol Police officer has been given has gotten off the hook. He was also a person of color, by the way, so he gets off the hook. They said that it was justified. And it was disgusting to hear people like Joyless Reed and others at the communist bastards at MSNBC were sitting around saying, "Oh, but she was a trained warrior. Who knows what could have happened if she had gotten through that door?" She was about 5'6", a trained warrior,
Yeah.
and she didn't, unarmed. What was she
Very
going to do?
small statured,
what was she going
woman.
to do? Use karate or something?
Yeah, I mean, the two types of justice systems in this country is becoming very apparent, and I think it's meant to scare people. I think it's, don't dissent against who's in power, or else we'll come after you. Lizzie Warren says frozen water bottle is a big rock, which is equivalent of being stoned.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
That's it. A lethal weapon.
Yep. And, the January 6th stuff, here's the thing. It was one day.
Yeah.
The thing in Atlanta has been going on for a year. Why are we seeing that January 6th goes on and on and on and on, but this thing in Atlanta is not really being covered that heavily, Bill?
No, not anymore.
So I guess the fairy dust is worn off. It's not because of who is going to be prosecuted. They are not interested in really covering the story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I don't know if messed up NBC or any of those other people. What gets me is the fact that we're struggling to stay on here. We're asking people to donate. We're asking you to join us. We're asking you to make any kind of contributions. We're asking you to find sponsors for us, or if you have a business, to advertise with us. And yet we've got these people who are lying through their teeth on MSNBC and the Communist News Network, who are getting paid. I think the last contract that Rachel Madcow disease signed was something like $25 or $35 million.
Yeah.
And she now has a show that goes on once a week. Nice work if you can get it. These people lie through their teeth. They are dangerous to America. They're dangerous to the world. When you have Rachel, who was sitting there saying, all you need to do is get the Fauci ouchie, and you won't get the disease. You won't pass on the disease. It'll all go away. How's that working? It's coming back now, and they're shutting down schools again, and they're telling kids they're having to put masks on again in some places.
Yep. The president, his wife testing positive for COVID yesterday or over the weekend, and they are saying while the president tested negative, he is still going to be wearing a mask. So
while he's with her, yeah.
Yeah. Well, no. While he's out in public, we're going to see him masked up. I think more than usual.
Okay. I'd rather see him in handcuffs and an orange jumpsuit, but that's another story.
Yes. And Lizzie Warren says a girl from Savannah was part of the group attacking the Atlanta police training facility.
What was she doing up there?
Great question, Bill. I'm sure she was
just like those cretins that were protesting in front of Foxy Loxy here because they wanted $25 an hour. Boy, so would I.
Yeah, well, and I think there was another protest over this last weekend as well, disrupting their business again. So if you are in Savannah, please go to Foxy Loxy, support them. They're a great business. The business owner is a very sweet gal, and they definitely need community support right now.
And here was the thing that when they were finally doing a story on this, they were interviewing some woman that had come down here from Colombia. to help out with the protests. If she a Waffle House instigator or something. Why was she here?
You must
drive
get paid
down
a lot
from
of money.
Columbia
Yeah.
to demonstrate in front of Foxy Loxy.
Must be good money, Bill. That's all I can think.
Yeah. Okay. So see what you can do to support those people.
Yes, absolutely.
And tell the protesters to stick it where the sun don't shine. All right, coming up next.
I think that we need to make sure that we are not being gaslit about how many Black Americans are going to be voting for Republicans.
Mm-hmm. That's next.
Are you a mom or dad? Do you have little kids with big dreams? Well, hopefully your kids aren't white or Asian, because if they are, they will have a very hard time getting into their dream college or landing their dream job. Top schools and corporations are run by left-wing Democrats, and they openly discriminate against whites and Asians. So even if your daughter has the best test scores, even if your son has amazing grades, even if they spend extra hours studying and doing everything right, it won't be enough. Unless you suddenly discover that you're part Cherokee, or transgender, or in the country illegally. Otherwise, your kids are out of luck. Which begs the question, if Democrats are hurting your children, why would you ever vote for them? Stop the bigotry. Stop the insanity. Paid for by Citizens for Sanity.
I don't think it's an accident that I ended up writing music for a living, because I think I lived in a house where I saw how deeply it affected everyone in the house. And just how much everyone defined themselves by the music they listened to.
Music as a framework, I think, gave my parents my identity from a young age. You can like any music that you want if it makes you feel happy. And now when I hear certain songs, I think of them, and I think of them in their happiest state, and it makes me happy.
If they seem like they're having trouble talking about something, I try to tell them about a time when I felt something similar.
Whatever the issue was, we would tell them the pros and cons and how important it was that they had come to us, because we could always help them. I think the real important point, we always told them, no matter what you do, no matter what happens, we will help you through it no matter what it is.
Serving the Savannah area with the power of the Shield since 1934, with personal insurance, employee benefits, and business insurance, with integrity, security, and trust. For more information, go to thepoweroftheshield.com.
Welcome back to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Happy Wednesday.
Yes, and another beautiful day, but also going to be a little warm.
6th day of September, and warming up some for the week, but looks like it's going to be nice. Maybe some showers for the weekend here in Savannah.
Isn't that just always?
Well, yeah, it's pretty much it. There's always a chance of thunder showers in the afternoon here for the most part. Yeah.
Yes.
Especially this time of year.
Yes.
And doesn't have anything to do with whether or not you have an electric car.
That's news to me, Bill.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
Well, I think that we're seeing a lot of these polls coming out, Bill. We're hitting the 2024 election cycle. I think it's going to be wild. I think we're going to be on a roller coaster ride, but I also think that there's going to be a lot of gaslighting.
Yeah, we heard that that maybe the black community is finally seeing the light, and they're going to vote for Republicans this time. And it's true that a lot of them are waking up to the fact that they've been voting Democrat for the last 75 years, and look how that's worked out for you.
Yeah, well, Rob Smith, he had something else to say about this. He's like, I think that people need to rethink their expectations.
Mm-hmm.
I did not know that when I made a tweet that said that black people will never vote Republican, I was going to set Twitter on fire. So this is what's going on with this. So in the tweet that I sent, I said that anybody that is literally going to sit here and tell you that black people are going to vote Republican in any sort of real big numbers in 2024 is lying to you. They're either actively lying to you, they're trying to sell you something, these people are not telling you the truth. The point that I made in the tweet that I sent was that we really do underestimate, as conservatives and Republicans, and sometimes people that can be in this echo chamber that is Twitter, X, social media, whatever you want to call it, we underestimate the amount of actual indoctrination that people are getting day in and day out, particularly the African American community. Now, I brought up the Shade Room and I brought up Hollywood Unlocked. These are accounts on Instagram that literally have tens of millions of mostly black followers. This is what African Americans, this is what black people in America are listening to day in, day out. And I am about 90% sure that the DNC pays for advertising via both of those outlets, via posting press releases about things that Joe Biden has done, posting anti-Trump, anti-Republican, anti-DeSantis, anti-MAGA sentiment. They do this stuff all the time. That is not to mention every black entertainer, every celebrity, everyone going hard against Republicans, going hard against Trump, going hard against DeSantis, going hard against conservatives. This is what these people are consumed by. This is what the average black American who is not terminally on Twitter, who does not watch Fox News, that does not follow any of the political commentators, African American or otherwise, this is the reality that is going on. And to me, the reason that people are so triggered by this reality, first of all, is because a lot of conservatives and Republicans are very culturally illiterate. These people do not understand the black culture that exists in this country. That is why they are saying dumb stuff like, oh, this Trump mugshot is so gangsta, that's really going to get him 25% of the black vote. It's ridiculous. It is culturally illiterate. Okay, you guys don't understand the reality of what's going on. And then furthermore, me saying the absolute truth that blacks are unlikely to vote for Republicans in these pie in the sky numbers that people are pushing out. Like, people are talking about 20, 25%, etc. It's completely ridiculous. This is the same thing, by the way, that a lot of people, including me, by the way, were saying between 2018 and 2020, because we really actually believed it. Like, at that point, I actually believed that at least 12 to 15% was a possibility. Those numbers were not there in 2020 because black people did not show up, regardless of the platinum plan, regardless of the black influencers, regardless of all of that energy that seemed to be happening. Black people did not show up to vote for Trump or for Republicans in general, right? So it just didn't happen. And so instead of trying to figure out why that did not happen, the Republican Party and conservatives have done absolutely nothing different, by the way. So they're literally running the same thing that we saw that did not work in 2020. This idea that black people are going to be somehow motivated to vote for Trump because of a mugshot, or because things are so bad, which by the way they are, that they're just automatically going to vote Republican. And the point that I'm making is this: is it a worthy investment to invest in the shift into cultural conservatism in African American communities? I think so, absolutely. Because if you, again, get a sense of the culture, which a lot of you people are divorced from, you probably don't even know what Fresh and Fit is. Fresh and Fit, hosted by two black men, obviously right-leaning, obviously conservative-leaning, but they don't particularly talk about politics. They more talk about cultural conservatism, making money, keeping yourself physically fit as a man, like all of these different things. So we're more likely to have success in pushing the idea of cultural conservatism in black communities and Hispanic communities and Asian communities, in all of these communities, instead of living in some pie in the sky existence and lying to people and saying that blacks are just automatically going to vote Republican because things are so bad right now. People are not being realistic about the amount of brainwashing and propaganda that the majority of Black Americans are exposed to every single day. Like, people are just not getting it. And look, I know it's a long video, I'll wrap it up. You can say whatever you want about me. Okay, you can talk about whatever you want about me. You can say, oh, you can call me, this is Carlton, he's a Fox News puppet, which, by the way, I don't work for Fox News, I never have. You can say anything that you want about me, but you can't deny the truth and the logic behind what I am saying. And it is a tactic that is very, very leftist-esque. To literally attack the person instead of the message. But I'm going to let you guys do what you're going to do. You know, have your little comments, attack, do whatever. Like, I got a thick skin, okay? Like, I've been doing this for a really long time. Like, the thing about this right here and social media and all that stuff is, like, I can just, like, not be on Twitter and go live my life. And you guys can argue and scream into this echo chamber all you want. But I will be very curious as to see what these numbers actually are in 2024. My guess is this: the numbers are going to be about what they were in 2020, maybe a little bit more, I don't know. And then a lot of people are going to be pushing the same crap about, oh my God, the election was stolen and all of this stuff happened, blah, blah, blah. And these same people, okay, these same people that were pushing this stuff, and that are lying to you about this right now are going to keep lying to you after the election does not go their way, okay? And this is construed as being like an anti-Trump thing. It has nothing to do with Trump. The numbers are not going to go out regardless. It could be Trump, it could be DeSantis, it could be Nikki Haley, it could be Tim Scott. The numbers are going to be what they are. Okay, because there are a lot of Black people that would literally rather not vote. They will stay home before they pull the lever for a Republican. Now that's real talk, and that's that's just facts. You get mad at me all you want. You can say whatever you want about me. Like, I had a thick skin. You know, I don't care. But facts are facts.
Yep, he's got an excellent point. But if they stay home, that's okay with me too, because one of the reasons that we have two commie pinkos in the Senate seats for Georgia now is because a lot of Republicans stayed home.
Yep, but I think that we should make sure that we understand what's going on, because we have, as Republicans, we always hear, oh yeah, the blacks are going to shift. They're going to shift. Mm-hmm. You're going to get that, demographic in the vote. And we really haven't seen it. It's maybe shifted a little bit, a couple of percentage points. Mm-hmm. But, I have seen some of the clips from Fox News saying that, oh, they're going to vote in droves. Unless Republicans change the way that they do things, which I'm hopeful for, but I will tell you, they don't like change. We still have Ronna McDaniel at the RNC. So I'm a little bit cautious to say anything, because I do think unless they change their outreach programs or what they're doing, we're not ever going to change people's minds. And the fact that they've been indoctrinated for decades, I just don't know how you change people that believe what they believe. And
you're in the third generation now of government handouts from the Black community gets all these special privileges from the government, whether it's food stamp, although a lot more white people get food stamps than blacks. I mean, but then again, there are more white people. You wouldn't know that from the media, but the fact that they get all of these little extra perks that the Democrats have been going out there, and then they say, well, we see this guy around election time, and he gives us all this stuff, and we never see him again if we get in any kind of trouble. But yet, when it rolls around the next time, they still continue to vote in the same direction, and we're in the third generation of that.
Well, who do they blame that they're not getting more from the government? They blame Republicans.
Yeah.
So I do think that there is a lot of work to be done in that area, but I just don't want us to get too excited in thinking that we're going to have this landslide vote that we're probably not going to have. So I just want everyone to be realistic. I thought that was something interesting, because I've been seeing a lot of talk about us really picking up the black vote on the Republican side. And I think that is decades down the road. And I do think that it's a 10 to 20 year plan.
We call that ain't going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but Republicans, You need to start changing something. What's the definition of insanity? We keep telling you. All right, coming up next.
We have a lot more to talk about. President Biden doing some odd things lately.
7:30. And what else is going on? We'll tell you next. Stay real.
When I grow up, I want to work for a woke company, like super woke.
When I grow up,
I want to be hired based on what I look like,
rather than my skills.
I want to be judged
by my political beliefs.
I want to get promoted
based on my chromosomes. When I grow up, I want to be offended
by my coworkers
and walk around the office
on eggshells
and have my words policed
by HR. Words like
grandfather,
peanut gallery,
long time no see,
no can do.
When I grow up,
I want to be obsessed with emotional safety and do workplace sensitivity training all day long. When I grow up, I want to climb the corporate ladder
just by following the crowd.
I want to be a conformist.
I want to weaponize my pronouns. What are pronouns?
It's time to grow up and get back to work. Introducing the #1 woke-free job board in America, redballoon.work.
Serving the Savannah area with the power of the Shield since 1934, with personal insurance, employee benefits, and business insurance. With integrity, security, and trust. For more information, go to thepoweroftheshield.com.
Welcome back to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
And?
Bill.
Yes?
I'm sick of being embarrassed. Our president is just...
Yeah. This is... As a former soldier, this really gets me. When we finally give somebody the recognition that they deserve, we have so many soldiers who have not gotten the recognition they deserve, special presentations, special medals. This happened, what was hideous is during World War II, that black soldiers may not have received some awards that they richly deserved. There were Jewish soldiers. There was a Jewish soldier just a few years ago that finally got, I believe he got his Medal of Honor or Silver Star after all these years because his commanding officer was anti-Semitic and didn't want to submit the paperwork.
Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah, this has happened a lot. It's one of those things where you're sometimes at the mercy of your commanding officers, and it's sad. And sometimes some of these things fall through the cracks. The paperwork gets submitted at one level and it doesn't get to the next level or something, or somebody in St. Louis, which is where Army headquarters is for records. And they had a big fire there about 20 years ago or so that destroyed a lot of records. So it's more word of mouth. It's your word against theirs on whether you got the award to deserve the award or not. But okay. There was a Medal of Honor presentation yesterday by the president. More or less, from a guy who richly deserved the Congressional Medal of Honor, the highest award that the country gives to a military officer or military person, anybody in the military. It doesn't have to be an officer. It's just somebody who goes above and beyond the call of duty. When you read Medal of Honor citations of what these people did, you said, I don't believe it. This is hard to believe a human being could do this. You remember the movie that came out about 4 or 5 years ago about the medic? The guy that
Hacksaw Ridge.
Yeah.
Yep.
They didn't tell all the stories of how heroic this guy was because they didn't think people would believe it. It was unbelievable enough as it was.
Yes.
But they didn't. But he was bullied and beaten because he didn't want to carry. He refused to carry a rifle, and then he winds up saving hundreds of people as a medic, and so it's stories like this. But finally, the Congressional Medal of Honor was presented yesterday, and guess what happened with the doofus in chief?
Ladies and gentlemen, please join me for the benediction. Most holy God, we thank you.
I guess he was out to lunch. I'm not really sure what is going on with him.
They
of
were
course,
serving chocolate chip ice cream
somewhere else. Yeah. He had to go, but the look on the medal recipient's face. I mean, just like I can't imagine waiting to be honored like that, and then to kind of have that disrespect.
First of all, I would hate to be honored by that guy in the first place.
Yeah.
In fact, some years ago, when Bill Clinton was president, they had he did a Medal of Honor posthumously presented, and the father refused to shake his hand, refused to shake Clinton's hand. Now that wasn't report. We you know how we found out about it?
How did we find out?
The Daily Mail from London.
Oh,
yeah.
Here's the thing: if you want to know what's going on in the U.S.,
American press didn't say a damn thing about it.
Yeah, if you want to know what's going on in the U.S., you read
the London paper.
Yep, exactly, exactly. So Steve Stanton Sr. says, was there any explanation for his ineptness? There was not. I haven't seen any statements coming out from the White House yet, but the thing that they do is they ignore it. So
yeah. I'm sure Cringe will give us a good explanation as soon as somebody tells her what it is.
Well, and at what point do people just say, we're supposed to be governed by the people, and I just can't imagine that people. I can't believe that that one of the polls that I saw, and again, these are polls, I don't trust them 100%, but it was like 46% for Biden, 46% for Trump, and 8% was undecided. How could 46% of people be okay voting for this guy?
It's even when they show the approval ratings, they say that 63% disapprove of what he's doing, 39% approve, and I said, who are the stupid 39% that approve of what this idiot is doing? And how are Donald Trump and Joe Biden at 46% each? And who the hell's undecided at this point?
Yeah, what are you waiting for? I'm not really sure.
Good Lord.
Get in the game.
Yeah.
But, Peter Ducey did ask a great question of Jean-Pierre. I don't think she appreciated it yesterday, but...
well, she didn't appreciate anything Peter asked.
Yeah.
Ukraine, President Biden is the oldest president in U.S. history. Why does White House staff treat him like a baby?
No one treats the President of the United States, the Commander-in-Chief, like a baby.
So there's this book that says...
That's ridiculous.
When staff
It's a ridiculous
back
claim.
What sounded like a call for regime change in Russia, the president, quote, rather than owning his failure, he fumed to friends about how he was treated like a toddler. Was John Kennedy ever babied like that?
So look, I'll say this. There's going to be always a range of books that are about every administration, as you know, that's going to have a variety of claims. That is not unusual. That happens all the time, and we're not going to litigate those here. That's something that we're not going to speak to. There is one thing that I do want to, because I think I was asked this question last week by one of your colleagues about this particular excerpt that they were referring to, and so I'll say this, we did see the excerpt, the context of the excerpt, and it seemed to be making the opposite overall point about how the value of his experience and wisdom resulted in rallying the free world against authoritarianism, which is important. We have seen this, you all have seen this, and passage of the most historic agenda in recent history in his handling of foreign policy, like rallying the world around Ukraine, as you just heard from our national security advisor, who laid out in really good questions that your colleagues asked about how the president is moving forward, about Ukraine, about kind of leading into these conversations that he's going to be having at the G.
Yeah, so he's getting ready to go off to India. That's the reason he can't go to East Palestine.
Yeah, he's been so busy since February to make it. I believe early February is when that whole incident occurred in East Palestine. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting. He's been able to go on vacation a lot, but just cannot manage the time to head on in there.
In fact, they figure 40% of his time has been spent on vacation.
Yeah, it must be nice.
Yeah.
Must be nice. So Steve Stanton Sr. says, how would 2% vote for him? Have no idea. That's a great question.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Here, I mean, I love my grandmother. I think she's a wonderful human being.
I'm sure she is.
She's more with it than Joe Biden. And I would still say, I don't think so. I love you, but no. Yeah. You have no business running a country. None. And I do think that we're getting to a point where I don't know what we do, Bill. Like, we still have another year and a half of this guy.
Mm-hmm.
What could happen in a year and a half? I mean, the past 3 years have been horrible.
Yeah.
So,
and believe me, they are desperate to figure out exactly. The Democrats are desperate behind closed doors as to how they're going to handle this and what they're going to do. I'll tell you how they did it once upon a time. It happened with when Lyndon Johnson was president, and he announced in a speech that he was not going to seek re-election. And the reason was Vietnam was going very poorly at the time. President Kennedy got us in there, and Johnson escalated it exponentially. And it was not going well here. It was, unfortunately, our Vietnam veterans were treated very, very poorly by the American public and, frankly, by the American press that looked to me more like they were working for the Viet Cong. There was ample evidence of that when the book that was written by the North Vietnamese general who was in command during the dreaded Tet Offensive, that our media reported was a big victory for the the Viet Cong, the North Vietnamese, the bad guys. And it wasn't. We lost a lot of soldiers and personnel that day, but the Tet Offensive was actually an abject failure for the Viet Cong. That general who wrote the book, later his autobiography, was about to fall on his sword, but he saw Walter Cronkite, the most trusted man in America, say how poorly we had done and what a defeat it was for the American side for the Tet Offensive. He said, "Whoa, we can use the American media for our purposes." When you've got the most trusted man in America saying that they lost the Tet Offensive, and here he was about to go on and say, we may as well throw in the towel. Said, no, we can use the media for our purposes. So it's going on for a long time now, and this is the danger that we're facing when we have a media that does not tell the truth, that obfuscates, that turns things around. And when you see these stories, how they're defending this guy. If you remember when Donald Trump at West Point, after he congratulated every cadet that came across that stage, he shook their hand when he handed them their diplomas. And he's walking off the stage. I think maybe there'd been some rain or something, but he was in hard shoes.
Yep.
And he slips a little. And I mean, it was just one of those. You do it all the time. You do it all the time. Yeah. He caught himself right away and said, "Look, that's his cognitive ability. He's not fit to be president anymore. Look how he slipped like that." And then Joe Biden can't climb up the stairs. Have you noticed the stairs he's on now in Air Force One? Now it's like a step ladder.
Yep.
That he comes down, and at the Air Force Academy where he trips over the sandbag that we never saw. And yet they say, well, that's no, this happens to everybody. There's nothing to see here. Yeah, there is. And their precious democracy is going to be destroyed if Donald Trump gets elected.
I hope so, because we live in a constitutional republic.
That's true. Yeah. Their precious democracy ought to go down there. Stick it where the sun don't shine.
Yes. And Steve Stanton Sr. says, but Bill, the neocons haven't let up since 1968.
That's exactly right. And once again, we're waiting on the Republicans to grow a backbone. But I keep telling them, you need to get an ad agency that puts together all the Democrat ads going back to Barry Goldwater, going back to that dreaded, the little girl picking daisies, that show that if you elect Goldwater, World War III is going to start. We're going to have nuclear holocaust. And bring it forward and see the theme hasn't changed one iota in 50 years. Make it 60. And what else do you need? What other when they keep making these promises time after time and they still don't get it done? How many more times are you going to fall for that? It's like in Peanuts. With
it's just like
with
the budget.
Football.
Well, it's also like the budget at the federal level. We'll see what happens in September, but are they going to do anything? Mm-hmm. Probably not.
We don't have a budget. Which is unconstitutional in the first place. But we haven't had a budget in probably 50 years, 30 years.
Well, look at where it's got us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And we'll be talking about that more when we get back.
Yeah, coming up.
Serving the Savannah area with the power of the Shield since 1934 with personal insurance, employee benefits, and business insurance. With integrity, security, and trust. For more information, go to thepoweroftheshield.com.
When you're looking to buy a business or sell a business, the experts at Best Business Brokers have you covered. Whether you're ready to cash in on your years of hard work or you're taking that first step in buying a business of your own, they're here to guide you through the process and make sure you get the best outcome possible. By having Best Business Brokers assist you when you buy a business or sell a business, they handle the legwork of the intricate process. This ensures a smooth transition of ownership, allowing you to get to work immediately or receive payment for your business as soon as possible. With base operations in Savannah and Charleston, they service all of Georgia and South Carolina. If you're considering starting a business here, the mild winters and 5-tiered economic areas make these the perfect places to do so. If you're ready to buy a business or sell a business, then you're ready to contact Best Business Brokers. Visit their website at b3brokers.com or call at 912-349-0940.
Savannah, we'll never be alone. Savannah, the beauty of the world. Savannah, let's all take a ride. Savannah, I'm coming home. Savannah.
Have you ever boarded a plane and thought to yourself, I hope the pilot is a transgender refugee? Have you ever gone to the emergency room and said, I hope my medical team is incredibly diverse? Have you ever moved to a new city and said, I hope the police department hit its equity goals for the year? If your answer to these questions was no, if you just wanted the most qualified candidates for the job, then you are normal. But we have a lot of very not normal people running America these days. Left-wing politicians believe skin color or gender identity should determine who gets the job. Democrats used to care about the middle class. Now they just care about your race and your gender. And as long as Democrats stay in power, it will just keep getting worse. Stop the bigotry. Stop the insanity. Paid for by Citizens for Sanity.
Welcome back to Get Real America.
I'm Bill Edwards.
I'm Brittany Brown.
Glad to have you aboard this morning.
Yes, and just a quick reminder, I think all of the citizens need to get involved in the public arena, and that means going to some of these meetings. Tonight is the school board meeting. If you have the ability to go, I would. It's the only 6 p.m. meeting this year, so and that is out in the Whitney complex, which I believe is 2 Laura Avenue. So go check that out. And
right on President Street.
I anticipate it might be a little busier one. Libs of TikTok did put out some information about our school system here and how they were allowing the pornographic books in the schools. So I do think that it has created quite a buzz. So we'll see how many people actually show up.
So we'll check that out, and we'll have a report on that for you tomorrow.
Yes, we will. And
meanwhile,
we also have so the Democrats still think they have a chance, Bill, in 2024.
Yeah. Well, I think the reason they think they have a chance is that they figured out how to rig the election last time. They're trying this COVID thing again this time, and maybe the president will run his campaign from the basement again. But they said they have 2 choices.
They have 2 reasons.
2 reasons.
2 hopes. 2 hopes right now.
Mm-hmm.
And
what are they?
One of the hopes of some of the other Republican candidates is that Donald Trump is, at least in some respects, has somewhat softer support in the early states of Iowa and New Hampshire.
Yeah, and that's the formula for defeating him, or at least shaking things up in the Republican way. Somebody else win Iowa, somebody else win New Hampshire. Prompt Republican voters to look at some of their other options. But his lead is somewhat less in Iowa and New Hampshire. It's still double digits. It is still pretty formidable. Democrats do have two hopes, though, I think. One is the economy's doing pretty well. Inflation has come down. Maybe that starts to sink in with voters. The other is the issue of abortion that has been so powerful in the midterm elections and could prove to be that again with those suburban swing women voters
Well, that's the question.
Their two hopes are the economy, which I don't know about you or you at home, but I don't feel like the economy's doing that well.
No, it's not. Inflation is coming down. Okay, well, what went from 9% to 7%?
But gas is still very expensive.
What was it under Donald Trump?
Yeah.
And how much was gas under Donald Trump?
I think it was under $2, wasn't it?
It was under $2. Something that they said, by the way, the media told us would never happen again. You'd never see less than $2 gas. And we were able to, one of the advantages of shopping at Kroger, I wish Publix and others would do this. You get gas points, so you can go to their. I've gone as much as gotten as $1 a gallon off.
Oh, that's pretty good, Bill.
For shopping at Kroger, and when it was like $1.30, but last year when it was like $1.59, now it's filling up for $1.36 or something. I was like, of course, I'm so old. I remember what you could sell. Felt when it was 40 cents. You thought that was too much money.
Sounds nice. I like it.
But the whole thing is that it's not coming down. It's not getting better. And anybody that's stupid enough to think that it is needs to be in a psychiatric ward someplace. But we don't have those anymore. You can be homeless in Los Angeles.
Well, and here's the thing, Bill. When I go to the grocery store and the deal is 2 for $9, that is not a deal.
Yeah.
That is not a deal to me. They're trying to sell it, though. And Lizzie Warren's with us, and she says, what the? Economy doing well? ? On the day he was installed, gas was $2.24. I took a photo. Well, we all knew where it was going to go. And from what I can see, gas is still going up.
Yeah. Well, especially since we shut down most of our own supply.
Yeah, and who are we buying oil from now these days?
Our enemies.
Weird how that
and
works.
What does it take to bring that oil in? Oil.
It's nonsense, Bill. I can't. Their logic, there isn't any. That's the problem. And the other thing that they're running on is abortion. I'm sorry, but I don't know that. I mean, there might be some people that are going to vote on abortion, but abortion is not an everyday issue for people. I don't sit down at the kitchen table and say, hey, how about the abortion stuff going on? Can you believe it?
But the biggest mistake I think that the Republicans made, especially in the last election, was thinking that the overturn of Roe versus Wade, which was a piece of crap from the Supreme Court in 1972 anyway, was finally overturned and turned back to the states. I don't think the Republicans realized what a big issue that was going to be with the people, with the Democrat side.
But here's the thing. They didn't know how to talk about it.
I know that. When you Lindsey Graham didn't do us any favors by saying, by jumping up and down and saying, this is great. We're going to make it a federal law not to do abortions.
You think Lindsey Graham is here to help the Republican Party? You're mistaken.
Man, oh man. Lindsey, just, take the win. And keep your mouth shut.
Yes.
Because
how about you just step out of office?
It's still a big deal that Democrats want to kill babies.
Yes.
They think that's a good thing. They use that as they think that's birth control. They're still trying to spread the lie that this is nothing but a bunch of unviable tissue mass or something along those lines. And viable tissue masses don't have circulation systems and nervous systems.
Well, in the RNC, you would think that they'd be able to figure out how to hire a messaging team or an advertising agency to figure out how you message this and do some A/B testing. I don't know. Figure out what works with the American people.
Be glad to help them. And if they, and I'll do it for only $15 million.
I like it. Yeah. I like it. Well, Christy Maud's with us, and she says, I wish I hadn't sold my horse. LOL. On January 19th, says Lizzie Warren, my cat food was $7.99 a box. Today, the same box is $13.99. And Steve Stanton Sr. says, I have a fixed rate mortgage and my insurance taxes have gone up $300 plus a month. And then Lizzie Warren, shame on South Carolina for voting for him being Lindsey Graham again and again. And
well, here's the thing. What you didn't have a choice. I mean, the black dude that was running against him is now the chief of the DNC, and he's just god awful. So electing him wouldn't have been a good choice either. But what happened was, like you had 15 people jump in the Republican race.
That's always what happens.
That just waters the pool down too much. I'm sorry.
Well, and we need to find good candidates. I think that's the other thing. If you know someone willing to run for office, or maybe you could convince someone to run for office that would be a good candidate. I mean, we need real.
Somebody who really wants to run for office. You want to try to convince somebody who doesn't want to run for office.
Exactly.
That doesn't.
But we need more educated people that can, they understand what budget and money means, and that you can't just keep increasing taxes on people because they cannot afford it, especially in an inflationary period, which the school board, they didn't roll back their millage rate. So guess what? More taxes for you. Savannah City, they didn't roll back the millage rate. More taxes for you. And the county commission, bless their hearts, they also did not roll back their millage rate. So more taxes for you. So if you live in the city... Oh, Bryan County.
Way to go, Bryan County.
Yep, Bryan County, County Commission.
So many nice things about you lately, but here we go.
Yeah, they have rolled back their millage rate. So that's good for the citizens of Bryan County. But here in Chatham, I don't think anyone got any relief, except for I do know that the Pooler City Council did not, vote to not raise the millage rate on us. So we were very lucky out in Pooler.
Yeah.
But we still have some common sense people out there. Steve Statton Sr. says Lindsay is in the Hall of Shame of neocons.
Oh.
I don't understand how him and Mitch McConnell, they're two peas in a pod. I don't know how they keep getting reelected, but we definitely need to do something in those states. So we also need to fix Georgia. We have two senators here that are both communists. So that's exciting and fun.
Yeah. Meanwhile, you talk about unmitigated gall from elected leaders who just will lie to your face and say, that's not what you're seeing here. Don't believe your eyes. Listen to what I tell you. Down in New Zealand, the prime minister actually had the unmitigated gall to say he didn't mandate vaccines to get the Fauci ouchie.
See any kind of value in looking into potential compensation for anyone, disadvantaged through COVID, whether they were mandated out of their jobs or injured by the vaccination program?
There's a process for people who are injured in a medical procedure. There's already processes in place for dealing with that. In terms of the vaccine mandates, I acknowledge that it was a challenging time for people, but they ultimately made their own choices. There was no compulsory vaccination. People made their own choices.
Is any of that going to be included in the inquiry that's going on at the moment around COVID? Is it going to look at any of those issues?
The Royal Commission can look at whatever it wants in regard to the COVID response.
So it could potentially look at how many fit been injured, how many were mandated out, and potential compensation for them. That could be looked at.
Well, ultimately, it's a Royal Commission, so it's not my job to direct them. Other than they have a terms of reference which everybody can see, and it's certainly not my job to instruct them what they do within that terms of reference.
In terms of reference, they're not going to assess individual claims, so they wouldn't be looking at certain people.
That's correct. Yeah. Okay. Thanks, everyone.
Okay, then why did everybody have to get a vaccine shot?
Yeah, I don't think you could go in or out of New Zealand without it. Am I right?
It was just as bad in Australia, too, where they were actually sending their stormtroopers to get people off the beaches. They were sending in helicopters to get people off the beaches, for God's sake.
Yes.
It was disgusting. And we thought those were, probably relatively free countries. But here they are telling you that they didn't. And the former prime minister of New Zealand was a woman. She resigned, you said?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. She resigned in disgrace, although that's not what the media was telling you.
Yeah.
But it was one of those situations, kind of like the governor of Louisiana after Katrina decided that she wasn't going to run for re-election. Good
Imagine
choice.
that. Yep,
Yeah.
imagine that. And Lizzie Warren says Kurt Hediger boldly stated at an Exchange Club meeting that the Board of Education would have a budget increase without raising the millage rate because of the increase in home values. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And here's the other thing. I have no problem with funding the schools. However, they're failing. So why do we keep giving them more money? Because they keep failing.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't make sense to me.
And building these Taj Mahals for them. Have you been in some of the new schools? Gee whiz.
Yeah, they're beautiful.
When I went into the new Jenkins High School a few months back to do a story, and I was just blown away that this huge auditorium that looked like the Civic Center In fact, the Civic Center doesn't look nearly as good. Their own football field now, and I'm glad to see that they're building football fields for the schools now, because we had too many schools trying to use too few facilities when schools didn't have their own football stadiums or other stadiums to use. So that's a good thing. But now their own football field. They got this beautiful track that any college would be glad to have. Any NCAA, AA championship would be proud to be represented on, and just the opulence of this place was unbelievable.
Well, and I don't have a problem with them having new schools, except for the fact that we're not educating people. They can't read.
If
There's
the
huge
test scores
issues.
were going up,
Yeah,
I'm with you.
People would quit complaining, but they're definitely not going up. And Steve Stanton says, "What goofs all?" And Lizzie Warren says, "Read 1984, history being revised right before your eyes." And we're going to have to wrap it for today, but make sure that you become a member, you subscribe, you
Please
like
help
our
us.
page. Yes,
a small business. We don't charge. We don't cost a lot of money. Please help us out. This is how you can do it. Become a sponsor. If you want to have conservative news, then and a conservative viewpoint, then by all means help us. Otherwise, we go away.
Yes, we go away and we can't grow. I think that's the other important piece of this. We want to do more investigative reporting and make sure that we're getting a lot more local with you guys, but we need your help in order to do that. So hopefully you guys can contribute.
Do what you can.
Yes. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you guys tomorrow.
Yep.